Hello, everyone. Um, Let me access. I'm having trouble accessing my video. It says I cannot access my video right now. Okay, there we go. All right. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon, and welcome to our afternoon session on summer learning. We are very pleased to have our special guest, Brodrick Clarke, with NSLA. And you know, summer learning is a big emphasis this year. And if you haven't noticed, I encourage everyone to visit our summer learning virtual art gallery. We actually have an NSLA video on summer learning loss. And also we have the summer learning guidance provided by the Louisiana Department of Education, as well as a recent interview with our new superintendent on the newfound approach to summer learning. Summer learning is going to be statewide throughout the state this year, and there's a big emphasis to kind of address some of those learning loss issues that might be popping up. And I once again encourage everyone to visit the Summer Learning Art Gallery. We have that interview with the superintendent, as well as some videos on Louisiana Gear Up, the After School Alliance video on the importance of summer learning, and as I mentioned, the NSLA video on summer learning loss. So that being said, I would now like to turn it over to our special guest. And Brodrick, thank you so much for joining us today. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you so much, brother, for having me in the space today. Super happy to be here for a phenomenal 90 minutes. You know, this is 90 minutes that we're not going to get back, right? So once that 90 minutes has elapsed, it'll be history for us. And so it's super important that we leverage every single moment, every single second that exists in that 90 minutes to be able to talk about a topic that's near and dear to me without a doubt. And I'm sure very near and dear to the folks that are in this virtual space. Once again, my name is Brodrick Clarke. I'm representing today the National Summer Learning Association. I'm currently serving as their Director of Training and Technical Assistance. You might, if you recognize my name at all in this space, in this ecosystem that we call the world of positive youth development, you might have also seen me associated with the Weichert Center for Youth Program Quality, the Forum's Weichert Center for Youth Program Quality. You might have also seen me affiliated with the National Institute on Out of School Time, our friends up in Boston, the NIOS crew. And so I'll go a little bit deeper into what brings me into this space today. But I have to give a shout out to Femi Vance, who elevated this opportunity in my consciousness. And if you know anything about Femi, whenever she asks me to do anything, I'm right there at a rock and roll. The second piece is that the state of Louisiana runs very deep in terms of my own personal family history. My mom and dad are designers, and they moved their business to the city of New Orleans years ago. And they actually live across the causeway there, that long bridge that, you know, if you ever went across it, you know what I'm talking about. And so this being here today is quite personal. I'm very invested in the state of Louisiana. So shout out.
I will add this, Brodrick. Femi is presenting after your session.
Is that right?
She is presenting at the conference.
Okay.
And I encourage everyone to thank you for that plug. And thanks for reminding everybody that you definitely need to take a bathroom break before getting on the causeway.
Totally. Totally. Great. So I'm going to go ahead and use this moment to share my screen so that this presentation is front and center. And I recognize I use the term presentation, but I'm really hoping that it becomes a conversation where we can leverage each other's brilliance in the time that we have. Great. And so the title of the session, summer starts now. This is the most important summer in our lifetimes. I mean, the last pandemic was back when, in what, 1906 or something like that, 1900, something way back then, 100 years ago. And now we find ourselves in this space again. And I don't have to tell folks on the line how important it is to try to mitigate summer learning loss as much as possible. It's a real phenomenon. We know that there are some young people that have all kinds of opportunities in the summer, and there are some that just by happenstance or by circumstance, or maybe they lost the zip code lottery or something like that, but they just don't have those same opportunities. And so for us to come together and make sure that what we're providing over the summer is 100% quality, and give young people access to those experiences that we know that they need to survive and thrive. I'm just honored and privileged to be on this call with each of you today. This is the most difficult part of the presentation for me, to talk about myself a little bit, but I've learned that it's important for folks to know what brings you to the space. And so I'm an out of school time guy all day, every day. I'm that guy who runs the after school program. I'm that guy that runs the summer program. I can never go to Essence Festival in New Orleans because it's always smack dab in the middle of the summertime. And I'm right there doing programs. I run programs that my kids actually attended when they were younger. They're like 26 and 21 years old now, but when they were younger, they were sitting right there. And to me, that was the ultimate, test. Am I running a program that I would not mind having my own children participate in? Let's just think about that for a moment. How many times have we been affiliated, associated, maybe even completely responsible for running programs that we wouldn't even have our own kids attend because we have some concerns, right? We have a certain standard for our own children. What I'm encouraging us is to take the standard that we have for our own children and then the standard we have for other people's children and keep those together, right? And making sure that what we're offering is fair and equitable and of high quality, without a doubt. And so somewhere along the line, somebody said, man, you run these great programs. Like, we want to send the funder to your program to take a look and see what's going on. Because we know if we send them to your site, they're going to see all of those practices that we know are tried and true, that are research and evidence-based. And it's going to shine a really great light on what we're offering to our families. And so I accepted that as graciously as possible. But I also know it didn't happen by accident. And so it sort of opened me up into this whole world of facilitation, of facilitating the adult learning of others who are charged with the same kind of responsibility, which is, I don't think there's any greater responsibility than to be responsible for the health and safety of other people's children. And so that's what brings us here today. So I'll leave an open invitation. If there's anything that I'm saying that inspires you, that makes you scratch your head and say, oh man, like, I see what that brother is doing. I want to do something like that. Or, I think I'm a great facilitator. How can I take my show on the road national to talk about the thing that I love that's near and dear to me, which is positive youth development? I'll leave an open invitation to holler at me after this because somebody offered that invitation to me and I just have to pay it forward without a question. Fabulous. So that's that. We're online. I would love to be in the space that you're in. I would love to be like on one side of the auditorium and see you on the back side of the auditorium. But we know, this whole COVID overlay has us in this space right now. So we're going to leverage as much as we can in this virtual space. We're going to leverage as much as we can in this virtual space to try to be as connected as possible and engage in the adult learning process. Shout out to equity and accessibility and the fact that every single word that I say is being transcribed at the bottom of the screen. We believe in equity and inclusion. And so we're glad that the technology has caught up and allowed us to to reach every human. We also want folks to be engaged. So we recognize, online, you could be here present, or you can have the video playing and you could be across the room watching Netflix, or you could be somewhere else on your phone answering a text message or something like that. We're going to encourage you to stay really focused on this time that we have together, and encourage you to go old school. Go old school. I'm old school. You remember this? You remember these? Right? I know we like to type with our thumbs and all that goodness, but there's something to be said for actually grabbing a pen and a piece of paper and just writing some stuff down. So you can go back to it later on and vibe on it, reflect on it. And I believe there's even some science out there that suggests that there's a direct link between actually writing stuff down physically and memory retention and recall and that kind of thing. So please grab something to write with and something to write on. We all know that we have these weapons of mass distraction. I'm Captain Two Phones. I don't know if you ever heard that term, but I usually walk with multiple devices, 2 tablets, 2 phones, and really working to be unplugged myself. But let's not, allow any of these weapons of mass distraction to take away from our learning experience today. So if you can put them on pause, if you can just turn your notifications off or put your phone on do not disturb, making sure that if there's an emergency, I know there's folks that got kids and other major responsibilities, so people can reach you in an emergency. But please go ahead and eliminate to the extent that you can those weapons of mass distraction. And also take care of yourself on the call. You can always mute yourself and turn your camera off and go grab that drink and whatever you need to be fully present during the time that we have together. So what are we going to talk about today? I love the term summer learning. Different than summer school. If I told you had to go to summer school, I'm sure you can probably feel it in your chest right now. It always seems to be like, oh man, it's very punitive connotation. I feel like I'm going to be sitting there going over numbers and, have assign readings and things like that, versus summer learning, which have the same kind of academic ends weaved into it, but the experience just looks and feels so much different. And so we'll talk a little bit about the distinction between that today. We want to talk about why stemming summer learning loss is important, why that summer space is so key to the growth and development of our young people, why this summer space and this summer, the most important summer of our lifetimes, is going to be critical and key to help mitigate some of the loss that young people and families have experienced during this really incredible time of COVID-19. I'm impressed with the transcription that they even caught COVID-19 like that. You want to gain an understanding of what it means to plan for quality as we think about implementing our summer programs. It takes more than just creating a program and providing a program. It's super important that we make sure that those programs are super high quality, because that's where the difference is made. That's where the most potential for transformation can take place, is when the programs and services and supports we offer families are of high quality. I want you to be able to identify potential areas for improvement in your program. You know your program and your context better than anyone else. And say it with me, everybody. Context matters. 1, 2, 3, context matters. Your context is different than the context across the country, maybe even the county and the town across from you, right? And so let's talk about what it means to improve. But on the flip side, let's talk about what it means to celebrate the crap out of folks. We want to celebrate what is going well. We know that even in the most dysfunctional of programmatic environments, that there's something to observe that is worthy of celebration. Maybe even the fact that the young people are there. Let's start there. They show up. So let's go and rock and roll from there. And then I want you to be able to leave this session with something tangible, something that you can walk away with saying, you know what, I invested these 90 minutes and I walked away from that session with something that I can, at least begin the conversation with my teammates about a particular specific area of emphasis with respect to growth and improvement. Fabulous. All my Marvel folks, welcome to Wakanda, without question. And you would think in Wakanda that we have so much incredible technology, like my little teeth can turn into a suit and we have all this vibranium, and you think I would have smaller headphones, like there would just be smaller headphones in Wakanda. But we're working on it. We got everything else, but for some reason, the headphones we're still working on. So the agenda for today, we want to talk a little bit about why this emphasis on summer. Why does summer matter in the first place? I want you to learn a little bit about the National Summer Learning Association. I want you to learn a little bit about why do we focus on quality? With all due respect to all the greatness that's happened in the great state of Louisiana with respect to out of school time and after school programs, summer weekend programs. Why do we focus on quality? And then I'd love to hear some gems. So I'm gonna stay quiet for a nice little chunk of time and try to hear about some gems. And gems are just simply genuinely exciting moments. And this is from last summer. So when we think about last summer, I know it was a COVID summer, but even in the context of the COVID summer we had, if there's a genuinely exciting moment, something that you want to lift up, I would encourage you to share that during that time. And then I'm going to go over extensively a tool that you can use for assessment, but this is not an assessment conversation. I'm going to encourage you to leverage the same tool that we use for program quality assessment and to use that as a tool for planning. The whole country right now is focused on leveraging these tools that we have in our ecosystem, not for assessment necessarily, but for how do we plan? How do we understand those practices that are tried and true, that are grounded in research, that are evidence-based, and make sure that we're considering those as we plan for this summer, the most important summer of our lifetimes. I'll share with you this. I don't know if you've seen this before. I'm old school. Like, remember, I'm an old school cat. So, you can get some things electronically and virtual books, and, you can go to the Amazon store and all that. But something about having the book in your hand and turning the pages. But we're going to talk about the Summer Starts in September guide. So hopefully last summer you put the flag in the sand. Last September you put the flag in the sand and was like, okay, well, now we're starting to plan for summer 2021. Matter of fact, I think this summer is really just a test run for summer 2022. And so I'll introduce that resource to you, which talks a little bit about unique program culture. And so I'm definitely feeling Marvel today. If this was my program, everybody would be coming as their favorite Marvel character. And of course, today, I'm honoring Chadwick Boseman and everything that the Black Panther represents. And then we want you to walk away from here with a tangible quality improvement plan. So really peeling back that opportunity to look at that area that you wish to grow and improve in, and walking away with a skeleton of a plan. And I'm calling it a skeleton of a plan because, planning is a team-based approach. And we encourage you to take the lessons from today and to continue your planning process with your team. Everybody say it with me. The training doesn't end at the end of the training. So, when this session is over today, it's really just the beginning. And we encourage you to engage in your leadership, to take the lessons learned from this session today and make them come alive in your places and spaces and in your context. So a couple of agreements, I kind of touched on some of these, but it's worth taking a moment to go over them again. Learning is social. We learn from one another as a community. We're taking the extra steps to try to leverage technology to maintain as much connection as possible. So in a moment, I'll ask you, to the extent that you feel comfortable, to please share your image and your face and your likeness by turning your camera on. Once again, to the extent that you feel comfortable. We know that learning is emotional, and so we honor all the emotions that folks bring into this space while we engage in our learning today. And we also know that learning is a cognitive event. And so if you can focus your attention fully, as well as your minds, we also recognize that, life experiences, bias, racism, geography, cultural backgrounds, age, gender, all the stuff that could potentially divide us can affect our learning experience today. And hopefully we see the commonality in all of those distinctions and leverage our common humanness as we wrestle with potentially some tough conversation. I don't have a separate slide for this, but I think it's appropriate to do a land acknowledgement and just acknowledge, the stewards of the land before us, the Native folks. I would encourage you to know who the Native folks from your local jurisdiction. Just do a quick search. But just honoring all those folks that stewarded the land that we all stand on for generations prior to us. And just take a quick moment of silence to acknowledge them. Thank you for that. Now I need to hear a little bit from you. So we have the chat box feature. You also have the option of simply unmuting yourself, as well as potentially turning your camera on to let us know, what do you need to feel fully engaged? What do you need to feel safe in the time that we have today? And what do you need to have a healthy learning environment today? So please go ahead and let us know in the chat box, or you can feel free to unmute yourself. I know what I need to learn is just a room full of open-minded folks that have a growth mindset, that have the same, spirit for, the power and of young people's voice and choice. And I need to be in a room with those folks to really feel engaged. I'm appreciating what I'm seeing coming through the chat box. If you're a little bit shy, I encourage you to go ahead and step up and go ahead and drop something in the chat box. What do you need to be able to learn and feel safe and be engaged today? I appreciate Kristen for sharing that you need to be around people who are positive. I feel a really strong positive vibration coming from folks in this room. Feel free to go ahead and type that in the chat box if you have an opportunity. And that's a growing list of prerequisites that we hope that you take a moment to share. As you're doing that, let me give you a little introduction to the National Summer Learning Association. NSLA, we're a mission-driven organization. We also pride ourselves on being an anti-racist organization, committed to diversity, equity, and inclusion, and all that means for us as an agency, but also for how we communicate, connect, and engage in this transformative work around the country. Our mission is to connect and equip schools, providers, and communities and families to deliver high-quality summer learning opportunities and to our nation's youth to help close the achievement gap and support healthy growth and development. Shout out to Takara Huckabee. Need to give and receive respect and for thoughts and ideas. So I can guarantee you that there'll be plenty of thoughts and ideas flowing in the time that we have together. So thank you so much, Ms. Huckabee, for, hopefully I got the pronoun right there, for your thoughts there in the chat box. We want to make sure that we recognize and disseminate what works in summer learning. Notice you'll see the term summer learning quite a bit different than summer school. And we can peel that back, as we go along. We want to offer our expertise and support for programs on communities and strengthen and expand summer learning opportunities. I feel like every single young person that needs and wants one, whether they realize they need and want one or not, needs to have a high quality summer learning experience. We also want to convene leaders and advocates for summer learning as a solution for equity, a word that we throw around quite a bit. Let's just say it again, equity, right? And excellence in education. So, on your off time, or if you have an opportunity, go ahead and check us out on www.summerlearning.org. Check us out right there. Great. So I'm going to actually switch my view to gallery and encourage you to do the same thing. And I'm going to ask you to the extent that you feel comfortable, because I've really struggled talking to an empty screen. And it won't be for the whole time, but to the extent you feel comfortable in the next 8 to 10 minutes, please go ahead and share your image and likeness. Turn your camera on so I can see who is here and who is present. And I'll ask you to do a little bit of an activity where you actually do have to get up from your chair or wherever you're standing at. I try to get my steps and my stand goal every single time, so I don't sit during Zoom meetings at all. I try to stand. I got a little standing desk, and that's how I rock. But to the extent that you feel comfortable, please go ahead and share your face, your image, your likeness, so that we can see you and really, really connect. And what I'll ask you to do is to get up from your seat or wherever you are and grab something that represents something that you love, or something that makes you laugh, or something that you are proud of. And we're literally going to take 60 seconds. So you got 60 seconds to go find this thing. The only rule is that it can't be right in front of you. It can't be right at you. Like if you can reach your arm out and get it, you need to go find something else. So you need to actually literally get up, stand up, go and find that thing that either you love, that makes you laugh, or something that you're proud of, or all of the above. And you're literally going to take 60 seconds to do that. I'm going myself. And we're going to start right now. 3, 2, 1, go. All right. Come on now, this is conference time. This is conference time. You could be any place in the world right now. You're here right now with us in a room full of virtual leaders without question. And so I'll ask any volunteers, let's try to get at least 3 folks to please unmute yourself. Share what it is that you found and explain to us what it is. Why is that thing something that you love, something that makes you laugh, or something that you are proud of? Please.
This is Patricia Johnson with Monroe City Schools. I picked up Post-it notes because it's actually my favorite, but it was at arm's reach. So I saw Andrew pick up a family picture. So I saw a picture of my daughter getting her doctorate degree 2 years ago, and my nephew standing with her received his doctorate degree last week. So I'm
What?
very proud of him. Yes.
What? You're not talking high school diploma. You're not talking undergraduate degree. You mean to say we got two doctors up in the space?
Yes.
What?
They're first cousins.
Wow. I'm blown. I'm blown. I'm blown. Wakanda forever. Oh, that is amazing. Thank you so much, Patricia, for sharing
You're
that with
welcome.
us. Absolutely. Anybody else? We have time. We have time.
I can go next. This is a picture of my family. My daughter's now 2.5, but she was 3 months. This was our first Thanksgiving together as a family. There's my stepson, Jack, who's 9. There's my wife, Stephanie, and there's my daughter. And there's the big bow on her head. My wife went through a huge bow phase, a new bow every day. And this was one of her proudest ones, a giant orange bow in honor of Thanksgiving. And she's wearing a lovely Thanksgiving outfit.
Fabulous. Fabulous. Thank you so much for sharing that story with us. We have some time. We're just building community. This is the great state of Louisiana. What's good? What's good? And we get at least one or two more. What do you got?
Hello, this is Shannon Singleton from Minnie Ruffin, and I just have a picture of my mom and myself. She gained her heavenly wings, and I just keep our picture close to me. So this is what makes my heart smile daily.
Absolutely. What? Gotta have mom and sister girl up in there for real, without question. We have some time. See, I'm trying to model everything that I'm talking about today in this session. So taking these moments just to build community, to learn more about folks, is what we are recommending that you do with your families that you serve. So let's see if we can get at least one or two more. And then I'm supposed to talk about this at the end of my presentation, but I'm gonna call out some brothers. If there's any Black men on the line, with all due respect to humanity and all the other versions of manhood, if there are Black men on this line, because many times I'm just by myself. If you can turn your camera on and please contribute. I'm just gonna call brothers out real quick, see if we can get at least one or two from the great state of Louisiana. Can we get at least one more to share something that represents something that you love, something that makes you laugh, or something that you're proud of?
Mr. Shepherd. Mr. Shepherd.
We'll talk about it. It's at the end of my presentation when we talk about equity and making sure that the people that you are serving, can look at you and see themselves in the mirror. That's whole part of that equity conversation. But I'm not trying to put anybody on the spot. But if you're on this call, you connected to this work, and rather than feel like I'm on an island by myself, representing the Africanness that exists in people of color, I'm calling brothers out to turn your camera on, stand up, and be seen and heard. Great. So for me, it's my guitar. And, I've been playing guitar since I was 8 years old, but there's something about the pandemic and the isolation of the pandemic that really made me rediscover a new relationship with my guitar. And the song that I'm so excited that I learned recently is by Sting. I'm a really big Sting fan, and it's called Fragile. And if you know the song Fragile by Sting, it's it's simple but complex. And so I'm excited to learn that. I see Brother Malcolm Bosworth out there. I see you, brother. I see your picture on the screen. I'm just calling out. Forgive me if it's putting people on the spot, but encourage you to share as much as possible. Cool. So this is probably obvious to a lot of us, but what are some of the things that happens to a child when they're not engaged in supportive activities during the summer? Could somebody please either type in the chat box or go ahead and unmute yourself, and to the extent that you feel comfortable, share your image with us and let us know, what do you think happens to a young person when they don't have anything to do over the summer?
You're next. You're the next leaders of the future.
It sounds like somebody unmuted there.
They act out. They start to act out.
They act out, you know, they potentially get into some trouble. They could potentially get into some negative related activities. I'm always fascinated that when I ask that question, how we immediately sort of default to the negative. And I get that, like, this is what our charge is, right? We want to work with young people so they don't get caught up in those negative activities. We know that the idle mind is a workshop of sorts. And so we want to make sure that we continue to keep young people engaged in substantive activities. And especially out there for young ladies, young girls, it's important to have them totally engaged. I have a young lady in my life who has been playing soccer since she was 5 years old. And she parlayed that soccer experience into a full scholarship at Cleveland State and then to Georgia State University, of which she just graduated a few weeks ago. And so we know that young people can experience that slide, even if they made some gains during the school year. If they don't have anything to do during the summertime, that's substantive, that's of high quality, they can take that slide backwards. We also know that there's this thing called the faucet theory. For some young people, learning resources are turned on for all youth during the school year. You know, we live in a country where you have to go to school. We have to provide some level of academic experience during the school year. You can question whether or not it's equal access to high quality public education. That's a whole other training and a whole other conversation. But let's say for a moment, at least, you know, there's some level of educational experience during the school year. But we also know that during the summertime, particularly for low-income youth or youth that don't have the access, that faucet is turned off. And there's a limited flow of resources that come in the summertime that has major implications for the quality of what we offer. And then, of course, this past year, we've experienced the faucet being turned upside down for everyone, at least for a moment. You know, there are families with access and privilege that were able to, the term that I can't even believe I'm using right now because I'm really personally tired of hearing the term pivot, but, you know, those families were able to pivot and make sure that their children have something of value to do. But other families may not have been as nimble, and because of circumstance, may not have had the resources to pivot to make sure that their children have something during this. But at least for a moment, we all felt it. And on some level, that brings us together. And so we focus on this summertime because it's an extensive opportunity. The summertime is an incredible time of inequity, but it's also an incredible time of opportunity. And so how do we, A, recognize the inequities and certainly work to try to level the playing field, but how do we leverage the opportunities that exist within this summer? We know that there's a lot of opportunity for growth and learning. So the fact that you're on this call, you're in this conference, you're in this session, you'll be listening to FEME after this, hopefully after you take a break. And you're here for growth and learning, to learn how you can refine your craft and be even a more awesome youth development facilitator. We know that we provide support for working families. You know, shout out to even those families that have young people with special needs. You know, folks need a break. They need an opportunity to go out and work, you know, make sure that their kids, while they're going out and working and doing what they need to do for their families, that their children are left in the care of adult caregivers who know how to rock and roll in positive youth development. We know that the summertime is a great transition period for young people. You can start the summer as an immature 14-year-old and come out on the other end of the summer like a 36-year-old. Come on, stop playing. If I'm preaching to myself, let me know. If that's true, please let me know in the chat box. I'm a brother who needs some feedback. You know, I hear y'all listening to me and all that. I know my voice is kind of sultry and really cool, and you know, I'm representing Wakanda today and all that. But like, you know, contribute as much as you can. That we provide support for that critical transition for many young people. We also know that we can't do it by ourselves. We can't raise a community by ourselves. You know, we provide a very important lane in the highway of life for our young people, but we don't just stay in our lane, right? You've heard those, stay in your lane, you're doing too much, you know? No, we don't want to stay in our lane. We want to partner with others. We want to connect with other folks. So yeah, we're doing the thing in OST and after school and summer, but what's going on with libraries? There's like a whole bunch of libraries in town. Like, let's connect with libraries. What about Department of Parks and Recreation? They got all this parkland, you know, you got all this recreation facilities. Let's partner with Parks and Recreation. Let's figure out where are the fraternities? Anybody, any alphas in town? Anybody Alpha Phi Alpha? I'm a brother, Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. You know, we talk about how it's the awesomest fraternity on earth. Where's the alphas? Where's the omegas? Where's the deltas? Any Eastern Stars on the call? Any Masons? I'm just saying, how can we partner with those entities that are out there that are also dedicated to making sure that young people have places and spaces that they can go to survive and thrive? And then, of course, summer is a great time to innovate. If you look at everything that we have in this ecosystem of out of school time, you know, let's take the Youth Program Quality Assessment tool. If you're familiar with the Forum's White Center for Youth Program Quality and the YPQA and all that, that was created during the summertime at a summer camp where they went and ran a camp, invited kids and families to come. They studied it and they created a research and evidence-based instrument. That happened during the summertime. So leverage that summer space to even try things that you may not have the luxury of trying during the traditional school year. Can everybody say it with me as we gaze upon these great young people from the city of Camden, New Jersey? Dream, believe, succeed. Summer learning loss is a real thing, and program quality definitely matters. Matter of fact, I'll share with you that there's a body of research out there that suggests that if you're running a low quality programmatic experience, just go ahead and shut it down, because low quality programmatic experience contribute to aggression in young people, which is a precursor for other ills that can potentially happen in their life. High quality programs have the most potential for young people to be connected, to be transformative, for them to feel like they belong, all those experiences that we know that young people need. And so program quality matters. Matter of fact, I would say that there's a sense of urgency that we need to put into making sure that whatever it is that we're offering is of high quality. It's not about sustaining salary lines and sustaining an organization that runs low quality programs. Let's make sure that we're sustaining our organization by ensuring that the services, opportunities, and supports that we're providing are of high quality, because that's where the rubber meets the road. So I've been talking for a bit. I'm gonna pause the microphone for myself for a moment and see if we can identify any genuinely exciting moments. Given everything that we had to deal with in the summer of 2020, I know everything here in Maryland, the state of Maryland started locking down like around March, end of March, April. I'm sure everything was completely locked down and we were isolated, canceling most of everything, shutting everything down. Even in that context, anybody care to either type in the chat box or unmute yourself and share your image and likeness to share something that you would consider to be genuinely exciting that took place in the summer of 2020. All right, I'm just gonna go ahead and flip past this gem slide. I see where we're at right now. I'm gonna always continue to encourage you to the extent that you feel comfortable to share your thoughts. I have some things to share with you, but I think what makes this conversation much more robust is when there are participation, thoughts and ideas that come from the audience. So please, to the extent that you feel comfortable, go ahead and share your thoughts and brilliance. Thank you, Shannon, for sharing. You're looking forward to the summer of 2021 to collaborate with teachers for your summer program, and you're excited. The term that really resonates with me is your excitement. You know, it's up to us to come to the table energized, excited, like ready to rock and roll. Come into the session, you know, lifting up those young people and saying how happy you are that they even showed up. You know, we can create all kinds of experiences, but we also don't want to be delusional and forget that it's not about the actual activity itself. It's what we're there to do, which is to focus on positive youth development. So thank you, Shannon, for sharing your thoughts. Thank you, Sonia. You're working with young people virtually and how they embrace the virtual learning. Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah, also not taking it for granted that young people, you know, you can call them millennials, you can call them whatever the next term is for the next generation, but the fact that they're in that space, ways to leverage that and embrace that, and to be excited about connecting with them even in the virtual space is super important. We understand, Shannon, you know, that this is the first time that you're working with a summer program. You're not alone. You know, the American Rescue Plan, all these federal dollars that are coming down from Biden and the crew, is getting folks to a place where some people will be trying to access those funds who've never run a summer program before. And so, of course, we're frantically trying to reach out to those people and make sure that whatever it is they do decide to do is of high quality, because that's super important. Palucci, appreciate you. You're prepared to switch from a lot of electronic learning to in-person at a moment's notice. And so I thank you so much for adding that, because, you know, the things that we subscribe to from a positive youth development standpoint, you know, there's a lot to apply in the virtual space. But, you know, we're all headed towards getting to that place where we're in person. So making sure that you continue to leverage the virtual space to continue to sharpen your skills. You know, one of the items that we focus on is a warm welcome. So, you know, how do you make sure that young people are greeted warmly? You know, making sure that you're saying their name, calling them by their name, taking a moment to, you know, acknowledge the fact that they even came into the virtual space the same way that you would if they came into the physical space. So on some level, you know, virtual or in person, our approach is the same. We approach families from a youth development standpoint. Great. So I did mention that while I'm here representing the National Summer Learning Association, that I also have other affiliations, and so does NSLA. I mean, I'm a field consultant with the Forum for Youth Investments, YPQI Center for Youth Program Quality, And there they have what is called the Youth Program Quality Intervention. And, you know, intervention, I want to give it the most positive connotation as possible. In every jurisdiction, in every program, there's things to celebrate that are going well. On the flip side, you know, there's always room to grow and improve. And we approach this work knowing that even the youth development rock stars among us, do we have any youth development rock stars? Let me just ask y'all, if you know a youth development rock star or you are a youth development rock star, go ahead and click the thumbs up reaction. You don't have to turn your camera on if you camera shy. Like, I get it. I'm over it. But go ahead and click that thumbs up. If you know a youth development rock star, somebody who's awesome with kids, serving children, youth, and families, go ahead and click that button that says thumbs up so that I can see if y'all with me or if I'm just talking to zeros and ones in virtual land. Go ahead and click that thumbs up button if you know someone who you would consider to be a youth development guru, a rock star, someone who knows positive youth development at a very deep level. And every time you go and see them in their programmatic space, that they exude positive youth development concepts and principles. Go ahead and click that thumbs up button if you know somebody like that, or you might be that person. Hi, Louisiana, I see you. First thing we want to do is make sure that we assess. And once again, we're not focused in this conversation about how do we leverage these tools for assessment, but how do we leverage these tools as an opportunity to see what the best practices are and to plan for improvement. Oh, okay. I'm seeing you, Sonia, Kristen. I'm seeing some usual names in here. Thank you so much, Brenda. I'm seeing your thumbs up. I appreciate y'all. Juanisha, I see you. Thank you for the thumbs up. Yeah, I'm hoping that we all know somebody out there. Shannon, thank you for sharing. Mr. Harrison, wonderful with the students. Minnie Ruffin, definitely a rock star. So thank you for identifying those great individuals who are doing this work extremely well. But even those individuals have room to grow and improve. And so we're not entering into this conversation with any sense of delusion, bias, judgment, or assumption. We know that even the best among us, even those individuals still have room to grow and improve. So hopefully you're here because this statement resonates with you. The quality of the instruction matters. After school programs provide young people with a safe space to be after school. And we know that research shows that between the hours of 3 and 7 is when youth are most prone to getting caught up, so to speak. Many young people without an after-school program are home alone. Anybody remember being a latchkey kid? You know, like, don't answer the door. Don't answer the door. I don't care. I don't care if I'll stop there. I'll stop there. Like, I don't care if so-and-so come to the door. You don't answer that door. If you remember that conversation with your folks, then you understand what it means to be a latchkey kid. Many youth, you know, are unsupervised. Yeah, I'm 50 years old right now. I just turned 50 years old in December, but I do remember those times where I was very much unsupervised and had to make some choices about what to do. And of course, we know that it's not what the young people do when they're in front of you that really matters. It's what the young people do and the choices that they make when they're outside of your view is where really the rubber meets the road. So I'm seeing a lot of agreement here. Sonia, Daniels, thank you so much. Kristen, exactly. Patricia Johnson, yes. So I see that you know, some of what I'm talking about here is really resonating with the state, the great state of Louisiana. Shout out to Biloxi. You know, I'm just shouting out cats. Anybody remember Maslow? Anybody remember Maslow? It's one of the coolest dudes that ever lived. He brought us what we know of as the hierarchy of needs. And this is what this pyramid represents right here. And so, with any pyramid or structure, you want to make sure that foundation is shored up and solid, because what happens when you build something on a shaky foundation? Come on now, you know this. Even if you look at your own relationship, your significant other, if that foundation is shaky, it's going to be problems, right? So make sure that the foundation is shaky, and I mean, not shaky, but solid. And in this sense, it's about being a professional learning community, which all of y'all are on this call. Sometimes people get to this call because they got the email and it's like, oh, I need to make sure I'm present. So I'm gonna log in, sign in, I'm here. I get it. But I'm also hoping that you're here because you want to be, that nobody had to bring you to this conversation kicking and screaming, and that you are a skillful practitioner who is constantly seeking out ways to improve your craft and hearing from other experts and expertise and incorporating those best practices into your craft and to your skill set. Because every single family that drops their kid off at an after-school program in the great state of Louisiana deserves to have a practitioner who has the knowledge. Everybody say knowledge. Knowledge, knowledge.
Knowledge.
Skills. Everybody say skills. Skills. Skills.
Yeah.
Skills.
Skills.
Competencies. Everybody say competencies. Competencies.
Competencies.
And I'll even add disposition. Disposition. And so if that's resonating with you, then, let's do that. Let's make sure that every single person that we hire, that we support, that we call a colleague, has the knowledge, the skills, and the competencies, and even the disposition to serve young people at a high level, because that's what all the families in the great state of Louisiana and in our great country, the United States of America, deserves. As a matter of fact, I say even the world, right? And so you can do that by coming to these conversations in earnest. If you ever bought a home, you like earnest money down. I got to put all this money down. That's earnest money. That's like you really interested in buying this house. So come to this conversation earnestly, and then figure out ways to elevate young people's voice. Now, this is a whole other conversation. I could do a whole other 90 minutes on tokenism, the manifestations of adultism, and how that manifests in the work, right? Make sure that the young people have a real voice. That means they partner with the adult caregivers, where you can hear from them directly about what their needs, wants, and desires are, and incorporate that, institute that in the programmatic experiences that you're creating for those young people. So it's youth voice and governance. It's not just asking, what do y'all want to do today? Or what y'all want to see in the program next year? Those are cool, things to do, totally. But, as you think about how your organization is governed, figure out ways to elevate young people's voice. And then you have Maslow's genius all up in this pyramid. We want to make sure young people are safe, and not just physically safe. So you got the young ones, you want to go in, and I walk into a space, I'm immediately looking at the outlets and making sure that they got the little outlet covers on there. I'm making sure that there's not anything that's up on a high level that could potentially fall on kids. But it's also about that emotional safety. Do the young people that you serve have a healthy emotional vocabulary? Do they understand emotional regulation, right? What is the overall emotional climate of the session that you're doing on any particular day, right? Let's train staff to be aware of that. Let's train staff to know that. Let's give staff the skills and competencies they need to be aware and have their finger on the pulse of the emotional climate of their sessions with families and kids, young people, children, youth, families. We want to support our young people. So doing things like making sure that when they show up, that they're greeted warmly, that the adult caregivers around do more than just good job them to death. Any good job junkies on the phone? Any good job junkie? How many times you said good job last summer? Good job. Good job. Good job. Or you might use it. Awesome. That's my word. That's my comfort word. Awesome. Man, that's so awesome, Hakeem. That's awesome. Right? Praise in and of itself is awesome. But we got to do a little bit more than that. We don't only want them just to feel awesome because you validated them with a praise response. Ask them an open-ended question about, so Hakeem, why did you choose yellow? Like out of all the colors out of that crayon box, why did you choose yellow for lava? Now Hakeem is thinking more deeply about what he did, how he did it, and why he did it. And he might even come up with a reason why he chose that color that will blow you out of the water. But how many times do we miss that opportunity by just saying, oh, good job, Hakeem? It's like that. You get it. You know what I'm talking about. How about interaction? Interaction. Do we make sure that young people have an opportunity to lead? Do we make sure that they can engage with us as partners? Do we make sure that they have an opportunity to mentor another student? There might be one student that's really strong at this thing, that rather than trying to answer the question myself, maybe I can leverage that young person's expertise and have that young person teach another young person how to do something. I'm hoping you get the message, and that the greatest youth development practitioners act with intention. We don't just do this stuff by accident. We all know that youth development person who's just great with kids. They do everything organically. And that's cool. It's awesome that you have that raw material. But even those individuals be even more productive, more efficient, more inroads, walk those young people to those outcomes more seamlessly if they behave and act with intention, is one of the things that I'm hoping that you get from this session. Thank you, Patricia Johnson, for the yes again. Thank you, Kathleen, for yes. Thank you, Sonia Daniels, for the yes exclamation point. Kristen, we appreciate you. That kind of feedback is really important. Make sure I'm hitting the right chords and the right notes, so to speak, on this time that we have together today. We're at 3:02, just to do a quick time check. I know that this is scheduled to close at 3:30. If I'm incorrect, somebody will let me know, but I'm rocking out here until 3:30. At the top of the pyramid, we want young people to be engaged, and we believe that young people can be engaged in their own growth and development. And I believe even the ones that are like, kindergartners, the early childhood, can also be involved and engaged in their own growth and development, which means that they get an opportunity skillfully to plan what they do that thing that they do so well, and then have an intentional opportunity to reflect on what they've done and provide feedback to the adult facilitators. Plan, choose, reflect. Let's take choice for a second. There are two kinds of choices. There are content choices and process choices. So you're like, well, how can I give kids choice? Because it's a dance program. They can't play basketball because it's a dance program. Well, the content is dance. The process is you can create your own dance. Maybe now your choreography, you're doing some choreography for part of the dance that's going to be, at the culminating activity at the end. So the young people may not have a choice in terms of what they do, but you can also see choice by giving them an opportunity to choose how they engage with that thing. Awesome. Cool. So I'm not sure how widespread the use of the youth program quality assessment is in the great state of Louisiana. But I think I can best serve you all by making sure that you're at least aware of these instruments, and that they are freely available for you to download. Doesn't cost anything to get access to the resource. I'm actually going to, in a moment in the chat, drop them into the chat so you can have them, download them right now. But if you're not able to get them before this meeting closes out, know that you can go to YPQI.org and download all of this goodness. Once again, that's YPQI.org, and you can download the program quality assessment tool. And I encourage you to use it as a planning tool. You've heard me mention the Wyckoff Center a few times. The Wyckoff Center and the National Summer Learning Association actually came together, had some relations, and then we had a little baby that we call the Summer Learning Program Quality Assessment Tool, which took the very best that the Weicker Center knew relative to youth program quality and the very best that the National Summer Learning Association knows relative to that summer space. And they created a tool for your edification, in which I'm encouraging you on this call to access in one of two ways. One, when I drop it into the chat, just go ahead and click download right away so you have it. But if you missed that opportunity, you can always go to cypq.org and grab that resource. As you study it, you'll learn about the CASP. We took the CASP and the YPQA to create a tool that really empowers youth development practitioners to get young people access to the very best experiences that young people need to engage during the summer months. It's important to know that it's a tool that was generally used to assess the quality of summer programs, but we're encouraging you to, if you're at that place where you're ready to do an assessment or a quote unquote evaluation of your program, leverage the tool in that way. But it's also used to identify whether or not young people have access to those key developmental experiences that we know that they need to survive and thrive. And it will identify the areas where staff will need to hone their skills, or what sort of training needs the staff need to improve. It's a set of items that measures whether or not young people have access to those experiences that we know are tried and true and that they need to survive and thrive. The tool definitely produces a score if you're using it for assessment, and you can compare over time. Well, this is what we did in the summer of 2019. This is what we're doing in the summer of 2022. So by the time summer 2024 comes around, we have some really solid data to determine maybe what that pre-service training looks like, or what sort of training we need to give to our staff and network. It's also a standard for instruction. So I don't know about you, but when I first came into this business a long time ago, I didn't have a class. There was no class. There was no course that I could take. Youth development at the college level was just non-existent. And so the only way for me to learn how to do the work was to basically be in charge of a program. And sometimes we call that baptism by fire. But, right now we have the standard. So if you're hiring staff and you're, bringing them on onboarding folks into your culture, your positive youth development culture, give them a copy of the PQA. This is what we're going for. This is what we're expecting for you to facilitate and make sure that young people have access to these experiences. So if you want a copy of it, check the chat in just a few minutes, or you can go to cypq.org/summerlearningpqi, and it'll give you everything that you need. To my visual learners in the room, I feel you. I'm a visual learner myself. So this is just another representation of everything that I talked about in the last 15 minutes. So for those of you that do screenshots, now would be a good time to do a screen grab. Or you can go to cypq.org and learn more about the pyramid and program quality. Okay, I'm seeing you, Shannon Singleton. Awesome. I give this information out freely and willingly. And so thank you for being on the receiving end to get this information. Diane Madden, I'll drop the link into the chat. As a matter of fact, let me go ahead and do that right now, since we have some time. Everyone in the meeting, let me go www.cypq.org. Bam. So you should all have that. Everything you need, all the resources I talked about to this point will be available there. The SLPQA, Summer Learning. Summer is this cool space that we know is unique, while very similar to the out of school time space, you know, if it was like March or April after school, but it's in the summertime. And so we talk about the safe environment, supportive environment, interaction, and engagement, but the additional tools and scales that exist in the summer learning PQA that doesn't exist in the traditional PQA are learning strategies, as well as higher order thinking skills. The other difference you'll notice, there are actually some supplemental scales. And so there's a math and there's a literacy scale. So especially for those folks that have some really hardcore academic outcomes that you're trying to get young people to achieve, those scales will be of particular interest to you. Learning strategies, higher order thinking, as well as the math and the literacy scale. Some best practices in using the SLPQA. As I mentioned before, that it's obviously a great tool for evaluation and assessment, but you can also leverage it as a tool to plan, because it pretty much outlines all those best practices. And you know, knowing is half the battle, right? So if you're able to read those and then try to align your attitudes, actions, and behavior to align with those best practices, that's a good thing. I would also encourage you to not, you know, sorry to the vegans on the line, but, you know, we talk about if you want to eat an elephant, you don't eat it all at once, right? You want to take it one bite at a time. And so, you know, maybe there are items in there that will be, you know, some low-hanging fruit. It doesn't require too much intellectual energy, you know, too much sweat equity to make happen. You just make a small tweak and it's good. And then there are things that might require a little bit more, you know, sweat equity, rolling up the sleeves and all of that. So you choose. Don't try to do the whole thing at once. Just pick the items that are most interest to you, that have the most opportunity for growth and improvement, and start there. It'll also help you provide activities that support active engagement. You know, great programs are when young people are taking the lead. If you look at this picture on the right-hand side, you know, the adult doesn't have their hand on that, I don't know, that's a roller of some sort. You know, I'm seeing some flour on the table, but the adult is right there in their position. They're like a guy by the side. They're a guy by the side, not the mage on the stage. And this picture on the left, I don't see an adult anywhere. I'm imagining that there's an adult in the room, but you know, the young people are engaged, reforming, experimenting, being exposed to those ideas. Using the SLPQA, you can provide intentional opportunities for, you know, young people to partner with the adults. And if you want to peel back that term partner, it's when there's an equal share in the responsibility for the outcome, as well as an equal share in the labor that's associated with getting to that outcome. And there's an equal share in the glory at the end of that outcome. So providing those authentic opportunities to partner with young people. Giving young people the opportunity to develop a sense of belonging, that's a huge piece. It's one of the 7 youth needs, this idea that I belong, that I matter. Super critical. We support young people by developing learning initiative, excuse me, and support higher order thinking skills. Young people need to know what they're doing, how they're doing it, and of course, the ultimate reason why they're doing it. Ask them the question. Ask a critical, open-ended question to learn, what is it that they're doing? Why are they making the choices to do it the way that they're doing it? And what's the reason? Why are they making those choices? And have them articulate back to you. Matter of fact, if you do the same thing with staff, like let's just stop for a second and apply everything I talked about in the last hour to how we interact with each other as colleagues and our staff, there's not much difference. It's the same thing. we're walking human beings through the experiential learning cycle and giving them an opportunity to experience the full experiential learning cycle, where they get to plan what they do that awesome thing that they do, and then get to reflect on what they've done as a result. That's what's up. Sorry, I put a little bit of my New York, Brooklyn vernacular in there. That's what's up. That's what we mean when we say that. That's what's up. Come on now. You know what it is. You know what it is. I'm going real deep into my New York vernacular, but my bad. So a shameless plug. When does summertime start? Summertime starts in the month of September. Grab yourself a copy of this book. I wish there was a PDF copy I could put in the chat, but it's not. This is something you'd have to purchase from the National Summer Learning Association. But if you go to our website, it'll be there. Other thing I'll show you, I didn't get to talk too much about social and emotional learning, but I'm gonna drop this gem in the chat. If you've seen this before, excuse me, go ahead and click your thumbs up or something like that. But if you have not seen this Thrive Guide before, if all that you do at the end of this session is run and download the link I'm getting ready to drop in the chat and get yourself an electronic copy of this right here, you'll be doing yourself and the families that you serve an incredible justice. You know what? I got a minute or so, and folks have been asking, so I'm gonna go ahead and leverage this time to not only take a breath, which I certainly needed at that moment in time, but I'm gonna leverage this opportunity to see if there's any other brothers on this line, with all due respect to manhood and womanhood and every other, spectrum in between. I'd love to see some brothers on this call. A lot of times I'm the only one in the room. But while I'm going ahead and dropping this in the chat, make sure that folks get represented, so I don't leave this experience without giving you some of those resources. Let's start with the Summer Learning PQA. Let's go. Oh, okay, my bad. Did I not do it to everyone? Let's try it again. Let's try that again. Fabulous. Send successfully to everyone. You have the Summer Learning PQA tool at your disposal. I'm also going to drop the traditional school age PQA in there. And then I'm going to drop the youth PQA in there. So all that goodness will be available to you. I was just informed by my moderator that we just have a few minutes left in our time together. And so I'm actually going to go ahead and switch to a moment of reflection. And so this moment of reflection is for you, Is there something that you heard in the time that we spent together today that resonated with you, something that you heard that you see some application in your context, in your reality? Is there something that you heard today that you just want to lift up that resonated? I'm going to stay quiet for a minute to see if anyone would be so inclined to share either in the chat box or to just unmute yourself and go ahead and take the microphone and share some thoughts of reflection. That's all right. I see how the flow is at this moment in time. We have about 35 folks here on the line from the great state of Louisiana, all here to learn more about the most important summer that we have right in front of us. We're in the reflection portion of our conversation today. And so you can express yourself either in the chat box, as well as either unmuting yourself and just sharing your thoughts. I appreciate you, Patricia Johnson. Thank you. Sonia Daniels shared that just want to share cheers to all the rock stars that are devoting their time working with youth. Tamisha Bold, thank you for the great information. I appreciate the conversation about choice. And thank you again, Patricia, for sharing your thoughts there in the chat box. I'm going to reshare my screen. Back to the presentation. And open up the conversation for any questions that folks might have. And I know that I've talked about a lot today, so I don't want to move forward and close out without offering at least an opportunity to respond to any questions that folks might pose. I actually cannot see the chat box right now, so if folks do have a question, matter of fact, let me see what's going on over here. Chat, oh, okay. Shannon Singleton shared that I love learning different strategies and keeping students engaged, praising them in different ways during instruction and learning. Absolutely. A lot of thanks for the information. Looking forward to summer session and using some of these new ideas. Absolutely. The training doesn't end at the end of the training. And I would feel very accomplished if you took even one idea from the time that we spent together today and leveraged that in your interactions with families and children this summer. And so let's see. You can see I've had so much more to offer you all today. Let's see. Oops. So I did want to make sure that you were aware of the summer learning recruitment guide. I don't have this to drop in the chat, but if you go to the wallacefoundation.org, or even if you just go to our friend Google and type in Summer Learning Recruitment Guide, Wallace Foundation, you'll pull that down. There's some awesome ideas with respect to recruitment and retention. If you're interested in learning more or following us in our exploits and the work that we're doing here at the National Summer Learning Association, feel free to visit us at our Twitter, as well as Facebook, and subscribe to our YouTube channel. If you saw something in my image and likeness and expertise today that you feel like you would like to connect with beyond today, feel free to reach out. That is my website, brodrickclarke.com, my email, brodrickclarke@me.com, as well as my personal cell phone number, which is 240-855-6998. And so with that, we're at 3:25 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 2:25 Central Time. I think I can go ahead and give you 5 minutes of your life back. I appreciate all the commentary here in the chat. I appreciate the words of appreciation. Thank you, Shannon, again, Singleton, that the information will definitely be helpful this summer. And the great thing about technology, it looks like this meeting is being recorded. So hopefully you have the opportunity to go back and listen in, or to even share this information with others who are not able to be on the call. Thank you, Denise. It was refreshing to stop and reframe how important summertime is to children and young folks. It's critical that all young people have the activities to look forward to, learn from, and be able to explore their interests and gifts. So thank you. Thank you so much, Denise, for sharing your thoughts there in the chat.
Brodrick, if I could just give a little plug for you out there, this session is recorded and it will be up on the conference website, and we're also going to be uploading it to the LaCal YouTube channel. We also have a network newsletter where we will promote other NSLA resources, and thank you for sharing your information to follow up. But I just want to encourage everybody to, if you know, I know some staff might not have been able to attend today's session. I encourage you to pull this video out. It would be a good conversation starter with your staff as well.
Absolutely. And with that, Wakanda out.
All right. Thank you so much, everybody. And I've already told Femi you've been hyping her up, so she's not going to let you down. So everybody, please, we got 2 new sessions coming up, one with Megan Franks from the Louisiana 4-H Club on parent engagement, and a great SEL session from Femi coming up as well.
Fabulous. Take care, everyone. Be safe.
Can you hear me?
And continue doing what you're doing to serve those children, youth, and families. And shout out to all the brothers that, have accepted this as an opportunity to serve and to show what's possible.